A beautiful day in Moscow, Idaho. Welcome to ICCU Arena on the campus of the University of Idaho for a showdown between in-state rivals, the Idaho Vandals and the Idaho State Bengals. Glad to have you with us. I'm Dave Cotton alongside former Vandals star Stephen Madison. It's great to have you with us. And Stephen, not only a big game, obviously, because of the rivalry, but for seeding when it comes to the upcoming Big Sky tournament.
Yeah, it's a rivalry game. This is the battle for the state of Idaho. But the seeding in the Big Sky Conference tournament that's only a couple weeks away is so key. Idaho State sitting in fourth in the conference right now, and Idaho in fifth, with only one game separating them. A lot of things can change here in the next few days, and especially with this game.
Really can't afford really one or two losses. Otherwise, you fall out of that 3 through 6 block, if you will. And those teams won't have to play in that opening weekend, so there's a lot at stake, as you mentioned. Let's take a look at the starting lineups for Idaho State. Dylan Darling, who's been on fire lately, Big Sky Player of the Week, 3 of the last 4 weeks, at 28 points in the first game between these two teams back in early February. He'll be joined in the backcourt by Jake O'Neill. Connor Hollenbeck at forward, along with Isaiah Griffin and Evan Otten, a blocking machine, 6'11" underneath for the Idaho State Bengals. For Idaho, a guard-heavy lineup with Jack Payne, Christian Gonzalez, and Colton Mitchell, the former Bengal, in the guard court, along with Julius Mims and Tyler Maruss at the forward. As two teams again playing on February 1st, and Stephen, it was Idaho State winning that by 16, and here's why. Dylan Darling.
Yeah, and you mentioned it, 8 of the last 10 games, over 20 points, and in two of those games he had 30. He's just been electrifying. He's such a tough guard to handle on the defensive end for teams, and he lit it up in their last meeting, like you mentioned, with 28 points. But for the Vandals, it's about finding some production, finding some scoring, and the rebounding of Idaho State is unbelievable. So we're going to have a really good battle on the boards today.
Yeah, the Bengals, they love hitting the boards, as you mentioned. #1 in the Big Sky in rebounding margin, out-rebounding opponents by an average of 9 per game. So something to keep an eye on here tonight. The referees are James Ford, DeSell Dean, and Matt Rafferty. The 122nd meeting of these two rivals is underway, and it's Idaho State controlling the opening tap. And this is Dylan Darling, the super soft out of Central Valley High School, and we've got an early whistle. Maybe a clock issue out of the gate.
That's always a fun one to start the game off,
Shot clock not working. So usually when there's a game involving Dylan Darling, the shot clock doesn't really matter. But in this case, got to make sure it's going.
Yeah, and sometimes, in rivalry games, there's nerves from the players, but sometimes on the scorer's bench as well.
Yeah. And we got another stoppage. So it looks like a little clunky here with the shot clock. It gives us a chance to talk a little bit more about Dylan Darling, the all-time single season and career scoring leader in the Greater Spokane League. Went to Washington State and then transferred to Idaho State after that 1 year, and boy, the Bengals are glad they've got him.
Yeah, and the thing with Dylan Darling is, coming out of high school, he's such an explosive athlete for his size, and so he's able to get to the rim at will. And then I think going to WSU, there's a little transition there, understanding he's got to be able to knock down some outside shots. And then now at Idaho State, it's all come together, and he's such a threat. And we're going to see a lot of ball screens with him involved, and that's where he's able to really craft up the defenses.
Idaho State coming off a pair of wins at home, including an impressive 8-point win over Portland State, which is currently 3rd. Portland State at Montana State tonight. That's a 3-6 matchup. This a 4-5 matchup. This is Hollenbeck, kicks it back out to Darling. 5 to shoot. Darling pulls up. Off the rack, no good, and it's Mims with the rebound. Vandals averaging 74.5 points per game. Shooting 45% from the field on the season. A little step back by the former Bengal, Mitchell, no good. Both teams 0 for 1 in the early going here. Good crowd here at Idaho Central Credit Union Arena. Good atmosphere. Beautiful day here in Moscow as the dunk attempt by Evan Otten rattles off the back of the iron.
Yeah, when you're trying to test Julius Mims at the rim. It's really tough. Such a great athlete, but Auden in his own right, good size, good athlete as well.
And the three ball by Christian Gonzalez, the sophomore out of Chula Vista, California, opens the scoring.
And that's a big shot for Chris Gonzalez. Talking with the Idaho staff, he's gone through some ups and downs this season, but when he can get his offense rolling, the Idaho offense in general just starts to really get the wheels turning.
Idaho State loves to shoot the three. Number one in attempts in the Big Sky. Meantime, speaking of threes, it's Connor Hollenbeck, who had 16 in Idaho State's big win over Portland State last week, opening the scoring for the Bengals.
And O'Neal does a good job there. You get double teamed in that mid-post area. You got to have your eyes up, in the vision along the baseline to find Hollenbeck was unbelievable there.
And a little turnover there by Mims, and here come the Bengals. Hollenbeck, left-hand layup, and it goes. And it looks like they got Mims for his first foul.
And I was talking about it earlier, Mims is such a great shot blocker, but that's exactly what you do is when you attack in transition, you got to take it right to the chest of the shot blocker, and then Hollenbeck does the good thing where he switches to his left hand to give that distance, and now he's got opportunity for a three-point play at the line.
Hollenbeck's season high is 22. That came in a win against Montana State on January 16th, and he has all 4 of Idaho State's points here in the early going. This is Colton Mitchell, the redshirt freshman from Coeur d'Alene, kicks it out to the corner. Jack Payne, no good. A little bit too long, and here comes Dylan Darling. Isaiah Griffin working against Maruss. Now around to the other side, Hollenbeck. Evan Otten, the cross-court pass, and the flush by Jake O'Neal.
And good vision from the big fella there, Otten, having his eyes up, and like you said, O'Neal getting that little wraparound screen and then cutting back door.
Speaking of cuts, beautiful cut by Jack Payne for his first bucket of the contest.
Kind of mirroring each other there, both having nice back cuts out of the high post area for both teams.
Three-point ball by O'Neal, no good. Mims the rebound. Mitchell for three, got it! Colton Mitchell, the 3-time All-Stater at Lake City High School in Coeur d'Alene. And as most great shooters will show you, zero hesitation there.
Yeah, and that was
let it go.
Yeah, and that was one of those shots. He had to put a little extra arc on it, but you can't lose Colton Mitchell in transition. He's too good of a shooter.
So far, Dylan Darling has been quiet, working here against Mitchell. Now over to Hollenbeck in the corner, bounces off, no good. Payne the rebound. Idaho 7 and 8 in the Big Sky, tied for 5th as we mentioned. 12 and 16 overall. They've already surpassed last year. And a nice block there. We'll see that all night long. Evan Otten with his first block of the game. He had 4 against Sac State the last time out.
I mean, you talk about an elite rim protector, Otten. First in the Big Sky, 2.4 per game, 14th in the country. This guy knows how to shut down the paint and protect the rim.
That stat just jumps off the stat sheet. 62 blocks, now 63 on the season, as Jack Payne's turnaround is no good. Darling pushing it inside to an all-alone Blake Daberco, the junior from Lincoln, Nebraska, off the bench for his first deuce.
And a little miscommunication there from the Vandals. You can never leave the middle of the paint in transition to allow an easy layup as that one was.
Mitchell, step back, yes. He led the Vandals in scoring in the first meeting on February 1st with 17. Off to a good start here tonight.
And you know there's got to be a little bit of rumbling underneath him coming from Idaho State last year. Anytime you get a chance to play your former players, you want to give out your best effort.
Griffin, pull up. No. And Mims, another rebound. Some of the fans thought there was a foul there, but either way, Idaho ball. Mitchell, beautiful entry pass to Mims for the finish.
And that's just a great execution of ball screen. Idaho State's electing to push them to the baseline, not allow Colton Mitchell to come off, and Julius Mims diving to the rim. I mean, when he gets the ball in the middle, he's going to hit that elevator to the top floor.
Looking to tie here are the Bengals, and Daberco steps around, no good, and Mims another rebound. 5.5 into this contest in Moscow. Dave Cotton alongside Stephen Madison. Glad you're with us. 4 and 5 current seeds in the Big Sky going at it, in and out there for Christian Gonzalez. And here comes Dylan Darling. Still without any points in this game. Griffin pull up along the baseline, in and out. And it's Daberco with the rebound, and he's fouled. And that'll bring us to our first media timeout. We got Julius Mims and the Vandals getting the job done early, leading by a deuce in the early going. College basketball on SWX is brought to you in part by Findlay Downtown Toyota, Spokane's #1 Toyota dealer. Dave Cotton alongside Stephen Madison. So we welcome you back to Idaho Central Credit Union Arena in Moscow. Idaho State taking on Idaho here, and so far Dylan Darling scoreless in this game. What do they need to do, Stephen, to get him going?
No, and I think Dylan Darling's letting the game come to him. Sometimes players can force things early on, but I like what he's doing so far because Idaho's been sending double teams to him when he gets in that paint area. They've been able to make some good extra passes and get good looks. It's just about knocking them down.
Blake Daberco, the junior center from Lincoln, Nebraska, at the line. Averaging 11 minutes a game off the bench, backing up Evan Otten. 1 for 2 from the line and goes out of bounds. It'll go over to Idaho. Into the game for the Vandals, Tyler Linhart, and he's been a story as Daberco takes a seat. Linhart, the junior from Seattle, has really come in on a heater off the bench. 25 points at Northern Arizona a week ago and backed it up with a 23-point outing this past Saturday. Both team highs in those games. Mitchell for 3, yes! Second 3 of the game for Mitchell. He already has 8. And the Vandals on top by 4 here with 6.5 gone in the first half. Inside pass, beautiful shot there to Jackson Green, who finishes. Jackson Green, the junior from Atlanta, into the ball game for the Bengals.
And just a great setup from Jake O'Neal there. Again, Idaho's electing to double that mid-range, that mid-range post catch, and you got to have your eyes up in cutters, and that's what Idaho State's been able to do here as of late.
Mitchell, the step back, Steph Curry 3 is good, and he's already in double figures. You talk about somebody who enjoys playing his former team.
I mean, he loves it, but he's also, Colton Mitchell's the type of player, he's a microwave. Once one starts going, he's gonna let it fly, and he's a tough guard, and you gotta stay close to him.
What a matchup. You've got Dylan Darling against Mitchell, 2 Spokane guys going at it. Well, Spokane and Coeur d'Alene, if you will. Darling, the beautiful pass, but Green can't handle it, and it goes over to the Vandals. Second turnover of the game for the Bengals as you look at head coach Ryan Looney, the Eastern Oregon grad, and there's Alex Pribble in his second season at the helm of the Vandals. Saying this season, Stephen, has just flown by, and yeah, here we are with just one more home game after this one for Idaho.
Yeah, that's, I mean, it tends to happen that way. You get going, you're so focused on things, and the next thing you know, it's the end of February, and you're walking into Big Sky Conference tournament play here in a few days. It's
like Kenny Chesney's song, Don't Blink. Meantime, Jake O'Neal blocked underneath. Now here's Darling for 3, yes, and Dylan Darling, you knew it wasn't going to take long. His first bucket of the game is a 3.
Just good patience there from Dylan Darling. A nice little shot fake, get the defense out of position.
Mitchell fouled, and it goes, and a chance for a 4-point play. Colton Mitchell could not have had a better start.
And I said microwave. I mean, he is absolutely on fire right now. And he's so quick and shifty. Colton Mitchell, not big of size, but he knows how to get distance from the defense. And that's what causes the long closeout from Darling there. And a perfect chance for a 4-point play here for Mitchell at the line.
Well, you know that Mitchell being from Coeur d'Alene, Darling from Spokane Valley, that these two have played a lot of basketball against each other, and Mitchell completing the 4-point play. He now has 15. We're only 8 minutes into this contest. Now Darling driving in, and it's blocked there nicely by Tyler Linhart. Back come the Vandals. Maruss Mitchell pull up again. This time, no good, but Maruss there with the rebound. Now the Linhart with a three-point attempt, no good. Darling, and it's tipped away by Mitchell. Here comes Maruss. Crossover dribble, he's cut off at the free throw line, and how's Linhart? Has it taken away. Turnover, and the Bengals coming back the other way. O'Neal tried to find Green underneath, and another turnover.
Yeah, better job there from the Vandals. They're sending the double team from the baseline side. This time the help side's able to get there and create that turnover. A little bit of sloppy play here the last few possessions from both sides.
Third turnover for the Bengals. As O'Neal is hassling Maruss. Top now Linhart. And this is Titus Year out into the ball game for the Vandals. Needs to get off a shot. Late shot clock, needs to get it off, and looks like a step on the baseline. It was not a shot clock violation. Either way, that'll bring us to our second media timeout. Colton Mitchell has been absolutely on fire. 15 points, and it's the Vandals by 6. Tonight's coverage of college basketball on SWX is brought to you in part by Northern Quest Resort and Casino. Don't miss the ultimate sports experience at Northern Quest with game day grub at Epic Sports Bar. Northern Quest, yes, the best. And a little cleanup on aisle 6 and a good observation on your part. It was actually not an end line violation there on the last possession. It was actually a foul on A.J. Bergen, so it'll be Vandal basketball here underneath the basket.
Yeah, that's a rough way to end that possession for the Idaho State Bengals. 1-2 seconds left on the shot clock. You can't afford a foul there when you've played so good defense for 28 seconds.
Little entry pass to Mims, backs it out. Into the ball game is Isaiah Brickner for the Vandals. Kicks it back out. And the three-pointer by Titus Year out. And he's really come on, Stephen.
Yeah, in the last few weeks, he had the opportunity a couple weeks ago to come into a game and really show what he was able to do. And ever since then, Alex Pribble has played him a lot much more. And you can see tonight, big-time three for him.
Vandals 6 of 10 from three-point land. Thanks in large part to Mitchell, but Year out getting involved there. Hollenbeck for Idaho State kicks it out. Isaiah Griffin to the free throw line. Now Green the spin. Beautiful move and the finish. Jackson Green, the junior from Atlanta.
And I like that move from Jackson Green. You got to attack the shot blocker. You can't just allow Julius Mims to use his athleticism. And Green gets his body into Mims and really neutralizes his shot blocking ability.
And it looked like a great back cut by Mitchell. And it kind of threw off Mims. He didn't know if he quite had the pass, and it ended up being sort of a half-hearted effort, and he got called for a travel. Idaho with its biggest lead nonetheless at 7 points. Alex Pribble, his team will host Weber State on Saturday. That's a 2 o'clock game. And then close the regular season on the road on Monday at Montana State. And then hope for a week off before they get going at the Big Sky tournament. Again, if you finish 3rd through 6th in the conference, you will not play opening weekend, which is a big break. And a foul there by Mitchell. The only thing he's done wrong so far. 3rd team foul against the Vandals. Idaho State coming off a couple wins at home. As we mentioned, they beat Portland State, and that was followed by a 17-point win over Sac State. And into the lane, and it'll be a blocking foul, it appears.
Yeah, it looks like they got Tyler Linhart on the drive in. Actually, excuse me, it looks like they gave that one to Chris Gonzalez. Just a little late on that closeout, opened up a little too much, and Bergen does a good job of attacking that gap.
First personal on Gonzalez. 4th team foul against the Vandals, and it'll be Darling to inbound. Nice job of the hustle there by Brickner to tip it away. A little scramble in the backcourt, but it's Bergen controlling it. Brickner just his worst nightmare working back this other way, but it's the Bengals in control here. 5 to shoot. Darling working off the pick. And a nice defense there by Gonzalez to force the turnover.
And Idaho's defense has just been really physical and has been in the lane.
And the alley-oop attempt, the one-arm attempt by Mims goes awry. It was a good-looking play and just couldn't finish. Only one game where Dylan Darling has not been in double figures, as we see the 3 by A.J. Bergen. He's averaging 7 points per game off the bench. But Dylan Darling has been quiet thus far, just that 1 3-pointer. Only one game this year where he did not have double figures. That was the first game against Arizona State. I feel like he's going to get his in this game, but so far a slow start. Here's Linhart on the wing, working against Green. 5 to shoot. No call underneath. Linhart, the tough effort along the block, no good, and back comes Darling.
That's usually where Tyler Linhart is really good in that 15-foot range, but a lot of bodies banging there.
Griffin for 3, misses everything, but Green is there with a rebound.
And that's what Idaho State does. 8th in the country in offensive rebounds. They're so good at rebounding the ball. They're so physical towards the rim.
Now Darling is short with his 3-point attempt, and it'll be Idaho basketball. So Idaho still in control here. Inside 8 minutes to go. That brings us to a media timeout. It's the Vandals on top by 4 here at ICCU Arena.
3, 2, and we are back.
College basketball on SWX is brought to you in part by Shriners Children's Sports Health and Medicine Team, getting athletes back in the game. So we welcome you back to ICCU Arena. Beautiful day today in the Moscow area, the entire region. Temperatures in the 50s, almost 60 degrees, not much wind. Boy, what a difference a week makes, Stephen.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, with the weather being so nice outside, it's been a great game here early on in this battle for the state of Idaho.
Bengals won the first game by 16 on February 1st. The alley-oop there to Mims, just a little too tall, was the pass from Russ. It'll go over to the Bengals.
Yeah, and you can see Julius Mims there yelling at Tyler Russ, throw the ball to the rim. I mean, you got a lot of wiggle room with Julius Mims. You can't throw it behind him. You got to throw it up to the rim, and he will beat anyone up there.
Evan Otten's been quiet for the Bengals thus far. The 3, meantime, by Bergen is off the mark. And now Bergen is able to get it over to O'Neal. The reverse is blocked nicely there by Mims. And it looks like it went over to Idaho. So great defense there by Julius Mims.
O'Neal trying to take it at Mims. Mims does a good job of just staying with the ball, and then he does a great job of blocking it off O'Neal and out of bounds to get Idaho the possession. Yeah, and you can see it here. O'Neal with a great drive. Tries to go for the up and under, but Mims just staying on the ball.
5 for 3-point attempt by number 5. Brickner no good, but the Vandals get the kick out rebound. Russ for 3, back iron no good. But Jack Payne runs it down. So nice work here on the offensive boards for Idaho against a team that has been dominant on the boards in Idaho State. Again, their average margin of rebound per game is 9. And there they get the defensive rebound. You know, Bergen back the other way.
Yeah, and that stat you're talking about, I mean, it puts them first in the Big Sky, and it puts them 8th in the country. Coach Looney, this team's built on grit, rebounding, and playing defense. And that's been a good formula for them this year. Something they struggled with a couple years ago, and they've really emphasized it, and now doing very well. In the meantime, Idaho back the other way. Russ for 3, yes. His first bucket of the game is of the 3-ball variety, and it's Idaho State back up by 7. And not just in the Big Sky, but maybe in the country. Tyler Russ has one of the quickest triggers for a guy that's 6'7". He gets that ball off extremely quick. So in transition, if you're in defense, you got to get to him quickly.
Beg your pardon, it's Idaho by 7. Idaho State trying to cut into this lead. O'Neal on the baseline, nice dish there to Griffin for his first bucket of the game.
Yeah, and I like what Idaho State's doing. They're taking advantage of that double team that Idaho's sending, and you just send cutters down the middle of the lane. There's going to be opportunities open, and they take advantage of it there.
Skip pass over to Payne. Now here's Gonzalez driving, reverse layup. Just a little bit too out of control, and back come the Bengals. O'Neal, the grad student from Fruitland, Idaho, gets the roll. averaging nearly a double-double with 9.8 rebounds a game. Bouncing back from a dreadful 1-for-10 shooting night at Montana on February 13th. Had just 2 points. He's come on lately, though. And O'Neal there forces the turnover.
You talk about his rebounding stats. Jake O'Neal is a 6'4" guard, and he's averaging 9.8 rebounds. It's just outstanding. That's just effort and energy level, and he brings it for this team.
Great denial defense by Mims. Loose ball, and it's Maras coming up with it. And they're going to whistle. It looks like Isaiah Griffin. So that's his first, team's third. Neither team anywhere near the bonus thus far. But despite that early eruption by Mitchell, Idaho State right in this ball game. Again, if you're just joining us, Colton Mitchell for Idaho, the redshirt freshman from Coeur d'Alene, with 4 3-pointers, including a 4-point play most recently. He has 15 in the game. Linhart along the wing. Nice little spin, block there. Jackson Green can't believe it, but he's whistled for the foul.
Yeah, it looks like Linhart, he loves that spin move, but it looks like he gets his left arm out here. We'll see it on the replay. Gets his left arm out there a little bit, and there's a little bit of contact. The ref sees that, they're going to call that. It's a crafty play there from Tyler Linhart.
Linhart, second year in the program after transferring from the University of Washington. And into the scorebook. Again, after a great week last week, 48 total points in 2 games for Alex Pribble.
And Idaho has messed around with their lineups this year. Sometimes, you know, Tyler Linhart got the start in a couple games, but he's so good off the bench because you need that offense, you know, coming from the bench, and he can provide that and really give a lift for them.
O'Neal looking for a teammate, finds it in Hollenbeck. Now Darling still with just that one basket, the 3-pointer. Hollenbeck from distance, yes. Hollenbeck with his second tray. He has 7. And the Bengals are within 2.
And Dylan Darling is doing a good job of not being overly aggressive, letting the defense double team him, and he's going to find his teammates continuously.
That's our break.
And we got a foul. It will go over to the Bengals. And that'll bring us to our final media timeout of the first half. A good one here at ICCU Arena.
7,
it's the
6,
Bengals trailing
5,
by 2.
4, 3.
College basketball on SWX is presented in part by ServPro of Spokane County. If your home or business is ever damaged by fire, water, or an unexpected incident, trust the pros at ServPro of Spokane County to make it like it never even happened, happen. Well, Idaho State has won 12 of the last 14 of these matchups, and if they would happen to come back and win tonight, they will take the, the King Spud rivalry, they call it. The men and women swept the first round of games earlier this season, and a win by one of the 2 teams tonight would mean at least 3 out of 4 wins. The women are playing in Pocatello tonight, these 2 teams. So,
yeah, a lot of exciting stuff. And the first time around, Idaho State women's being at the bottom of the Big Sky shocked kind of the Big Sky and taking out a 3rd-ranked Idaho team. So tonight there's a lot on the line for the Vandals themselves, looking for some revenge from the Bengals, and the Bengals trying to get that cup.
now going baseline is O'Neal, found the opening and took advantage.
Really good pace there from O'Neal, understanding the closeouts coming and just attacks the rim with ferocity.
Tie game, and Jack Payne turns it over. Back the other way, Griffin, the dish to Hollenbeck, blocked nicely there, but whistled for the foul. And I didn't see who they got there. Did it, Maras? Yeah, Tyler
like
Maras.
Tyler Maras there.
The sophomore out of Bothell, as we look at O'Neal's dunk.
Yeah, just a quick rip through there, understanding the closeout.
Hollenbeck with 16 in the win over at Portland State last week. Payne will take a seat, and Julius Mims will come back in. Hollenbeck, season high 22 against Montana State on January 16th. And checking back in for the Bengals is Blake Daberco.
And a little bit of sloppy play there for a little bit for Idaho State. They haven't had the lead since 15 minutes in this game. So doing a good job of battling back, staying with their game plan, and now they've been able to take the lead.
Idaho, led by as many as 9, now find themselves down by 2 here as we approach 3 minutes to go, first half, and a good one here at ICCU Arena. Linhart, ball tipped away there by Griffin. And it'll be Marust to inbound.
It seems like Idaho's got to get something for either Colton Mitchell or Tyler Linhart here. And Colton Mitchell having such a great start to this half, get some type of ball screen, opportunity for him to get loose and get a shot off.
Late shot clock. Mitchell kicks it over to Linhart. No good, and the rebound there. Skying up for it is Isaiah Griffin. What do you have seen so far as how they've been able to control Darling?
It's been a lot of focus. I mean, there's a lot of denials and there's a lot of double teams. As you see off the ball screen, they're not allowing him to get free. But Dylan Darling's done a good job of giving the ball up and trusting his teammates.
Yeah, the unselfish play has helped the Bengals there, and we've got a foul on the floor.
Well, and this is the other thing that happens when you're such a elite level scorer and have been on such a hot run like Dylan Darling has, is you facilitate for your teammates, and then as the game goes on, game plans change on the defensive side, and things will start to open up in pockets, and he'll be able to attack and do the things that he normally does.
So Tyler Marust whistled for his second foul, so he'll have to take a seat. And Brickner comes in for him and gets the turnover. Nice job by Brickner to a streaking year out. No good, but Julius Mims cleaning up the junk for the follow-up dunk.
And Titus Yearout wants that layup back, but it turns into a highlight reel for Julius Mims and gets the crowd in this ICC arena going. That's twice now Brickner on out-of-bounds plays that he's got tipped the ball. This time was able to come up with it. Just really good effort.
Making an early impact off the bench. Nice job by Brickner, and game tied again here. We're inside 2 minutes to go. Daberco, no good. Gets his own rebound, and fans wanted to walk. No call. And finally, it's Mims coming down with it. The alley-oop, and it's just a little too tall for Brickner. Vandals have had a few of those where good idea, it was all set up, but just a little too tall in the pass.
Yeah, you say a few of them, it's been 3 of them, but we see the highlight reel here from Julius Mims. But back to your point is, you have 3 lob opportunities. Those turn into 3 turnovers. Those are plays that you want back and opportunities for possession, because the value of the possession in such a tight game are so important.
A 6-point swing there, if you will. A.J. Bergen checking back in as Isaiah Griffin will take a seat. Exactly the kind of game we thought we would get. Even though the first meeting on February 1st was a 16-point win for Idaho State, in a rivalry game like this, close affair, the miss there by A.J. Bergen, and the rebound by Gonzalez. Buck and a half to go, first half. Tie ball game at 32. Linhart backing down Darling, kicks it to Gonzalez for 3, wide right. O'Neal working against Brickner. He's been effective along the baseline. Skip pass to Bergen. Little pull up there, runner too strong off the window. The tip there by Daberco, or we should say Otten. And Hollenbeck with a finish, and he's into double figures with 10.
I mean, you see the aggressiveness to the offensive rebounding. 4 players for Idaho State going to the rim. The box out effort from the Vandals has to be better, because those opportunities are going to continue to pile up for the Bengals.
And the Vandals take a timeout here. So a little bit discouraging when you're Idaho. You come out on fire, build that 9-point lead in front of your home crowd, and now you find yourself inside a minute to go, trailing by 2.
Yeah, they come out to a hot start, and then Idaho State just kind of chips away, and now we have a tie, a 2-point lead for the Bengals right now.
Hey, Northern Quest Resort and Casino would like to salute all of the student athletes participating in tonight's game. Don't miss the ultimate sports experience at Northern Quest with game day grub at Epic Sports Bar. Northern Quest, yes, the best. Thursday night basketball here, and the last home game for Idaho coming up on Saturday against Weber State. Fourth seed, currently fourth place team Idaho State in the Big Sky against fifth place Idaho, jockeying for position for the upcoming Big Sky tournament. Jack Payne working against O'Neal on the block. Mitchell pulls up. Tough shot there, a little off balance, and a rebound by Griffin.
Yeah, good job of Dylan Darling, just staying tight, staying close to Colton Mitchell, forcing him into a tough one, and now Idaho State gets a chance for the last shot here in the half.
Essentially no difference between shot clock and game clock. And now inside 10 seconds. Darling working against Mitchell. Drives the lane, the left hand, yes, sneaks it in. Dylan Darling getting the layup. And Mitchell, last gasp effort, just bounces off. So Mitchell almost added a fifth three-pointer. As it was, he finishes a little bit cooler in the first half than he started. But a great game here at Idaho Central Credit Union Arena. Idaho building a 9-point lead, shooting 60% from three in the early going, but find themselves trailing by 4 here at halftime. And welcome to halftime on SWX, brought to you in part by the Community Colleges of Spokane. Spokane Colleges, an education designed with life in mind. We're back at ICCU Arena. Dave Cotton alongside Stephen Madison, the former Vandal star. If someone would have said, well, Dylan Darling's only going to have 5 points at halftime, you'd think maybe Idaho State be trailing at halftime. Not the case.
Yeah, not the case. And Dylan Darling having 5 points and Colton Mitchell having 15 in the first half. You'd think Idaho would have a huge lead, but it's been the paint dominance from Idaho State. 20 points in the paint, and that's been the difference in the first half.
Certainly been quiet, and Colton Mitchell, unbelievable in the early going. I feel sorry for the fans that got here late because, I mean, he had 15 points after about 8 minutes, including 4 3-pointers and a 4-point play.
Yeah, and you talk about it, he's a microwave. When he gets one to fall, it starts to really go, and the Idaho loves to find him, and he has such a quick trigger and so deadly in transition, and just shows you the shot-making ability in these highlights.
Connor Hollenbeck leading the way for Idaho State with 10. The grad student from Rapid City, South Dakota, as we look at Mitchell doing his work. He actually led the Vandals in scoring in the first meeting on February 1st with 17. As you see the good folks here at halftime. And an awesome adaptive game here at ICCU. Great moment for these folks. But yeah, really interesting game so far, and a fun one to watch.
Yeah, it's definitely been, and the swings in it have been unbelievable. And the game of basketball is about momentum and how you can have runs and stop runs. And both teams had their opportunities of playing hot and playing not. But so that's what's been so exciting in this game so far, and we're going to have a really exciting second half.
As far as, you know, taking a look at some statistics that are key, what stands out to you here, Stephen?
Yeah, like I mentioned, it's the 20 points in the paint. They've just been able to dominate the paint for Idaho State, and they have 7 offensive rebounds, and they average 13 on the year, which I talked about 8th best in the country. So they've been able to put paint pressure, and that's caused trouble for the Vandals.
And part of that is offensive rebounding prowess. They're averaging 14 a game, #1 in the Big Sky. All right, we will take a break, and we'll come back with more halftime festivities after this. Celebrate excellence in sports, academics, and leadership at the Spokane Youth Sports Awards coming up on June 10th at the Fox Theater. Nominations are open until April 30th. Go to visitspokanesports.org to nominate athletes, coaches, and teams today. All right, meantime, a busy night in the Big Sky and some big games, some important games. Taking a look at some scores here from around the league. And there it is, Weber State leading at EWU by 3 at halftime. big one at Portland State. It's third-seeded Portland State hosting the current sixth-place Montana State Bobcats, and Montana, the #1 team right now in the Big Sky, hosting Sacramento State.
Yeah, a lot of things can change. There's a lot of teams grouped in there from, you know, the 4th to the 6th to the 7th seed. There's 3 games left. A lot of things can change. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens here tonight, Saturday, and then Monday as well.
In fact, let's take a look at the Big Sky standings, and it'll sort of crystallize the importance of this game. Idaho State tied for 3rd right now, and Idaho tied up with Montana State 5th. What's important is the 3rd through 6th place teams, the 3rd through 6th seeds will not play the opening weekend at the Big Sky tournament, and the 7 through 10 teams have to play on Saturday and possibly Sunday.
Yeah, and like I mentioned, you look at the standings, if you come away with 2 wins in these last couple games, you can swing yourself all the way up to the top into 4th, and seeding's so important. It's crazy, and that's what makes basketball so fun at this time of year.
It should be a super fun second half. We're glad you're with us here on SWX. It's Idaho State up by 4 at halftime over the rival Vandals here at Idaho Central Credit Union Arena. We'll take one more break and come back and get it going in the second half. But not before we're going to tell you about one thing here in the community colleges of Spokane. The halftime presentation has been brought to you by Community College of Spokane. Spokane Colleges, an education designed with life in mind. Back with the second half right after this. College basketball on SWX is brought to you in part by Titan Truck Equipment, Northwest family owned. Outfit your truck by visiting us in our showroom in Spokane Valley, and follow Titan Truck Equipment on Facebook. So we welcome you back inside ICCU Arena. Dave Cotton alongside Stephen Madison, the former Vandal star. And Stephen, this game as advertised, been a good one so far.
Yeah, it's been a really good one, and it's kind of a different story than when we saw the first time, the meeting in Pocatello, where, you know, Idaho State was able to blitz Idaho with 16 three-pointers, only 4 this time around, but have been able to dominate the paint. And on the other end, the Vandals have knocked down 7 three-pointers in the first half. If you're a team that's been able to do that, you would think, oh, you have a massive lead, but the Vandals struggling to find offense anywhere else besides Colton Mitchell.
And speaking of finding offense from somewhere else, the Bengals also with a 10-5 advantage in bench points. A.J. Bergen with 3, Jackson Green 4, Blake Daberco with 3, to name a few. So good distribution scoring for the Bengals.
Yeah, they've been sharing the ball, being unselfish, finding the open players, understanding the game plan that Idaho's doing on the defensive end, and executing so well in that.
So as we mentioned at the top of the broadcast, Idaho really needs a win here to kind of stay in this pod of 3 through 6 place teams to try to avoid playing in the opening weekend at the Big Sky tournament next weekend in Boise. And it'll be Jack Green to inbound for the Vandals, and here we go, start the second half. Gonzalez, Mitchell, Mims, Maruss, and Payne, and the 3 there by Maruss.
And I really like that setup of the play. You start off with a flare screen for Colton Mitchell to try to see if he can get some offense going, but he's also a great facilitator. Besides being a great scorer, Colton Mitchell has great vision and can find his teammates.
Kind of been the story on both sides, where the top shooters drawing that defense and then kicking it, as Dylan Darling did there, to the driving Isaiah Griffin.
Yeah.
Nicely done.
Yeah, and you hit it right on the head there. Dylan Darling has done such a good job. We talked about it in the break. He's done a good job of being the facilitator, drawing in the defense, and finding his teammates.
Payne, the long 3 attempt, good. Jack Payne had 9 points in the Vandals' last game at Northern Colorado. First time in 4 games that he wasn't in double figures. The streaking Otten, no good. Had a couple of those tonight where he's been wide open, or at least close to it, for a dunk, and has missed.
He's got that length and athleticism, but Julius Mims, man, he can really jump off the floor, especially off 2 feet, just vertically quickly.
Another good matchup, Mims against Otten, and off the mark there, the 3-point attempt. Now Mitchell, no good, but Green.
And we talked about Idaho State's offensive rebounding in the first half. Now Vandals having 2 offensive rebounds in that possession. And anytime you're able to keep the ball alive, something good's going to happen.
Great follow by Payne. By time Darling on the other end, no good. And it'll go over to the Vandals.
Looks like Jake O'Neal gets caught pushing Jack Payne in the back there. But you can see here, just the multiple efforts. That's someone that Jack Payne is. He's the Energizer Bunny for this Idaho Vandals team.
First foul on Jake O'Neal.
Fouls on the Bengals. Number 8, Jake O'Neal. His first. Team first this half on the Bengals.
Good crowd here at Idaho Central Credit Union Arena, almost full. And treated to a good one. It's Payne off the mark and the rebound by Griffin, and here come the Bengals. Idaho State 8-7 in the Big Sky, tied for 3rd with Portland State. 13-13 overall. Dabrico no good. The left-hand three-point attempt off the mark. Gonzalez driving in, pulls up, no good, and Hollenbeck the rebound. Darling pushing, a little out of control, and he draws the foul, however. It looks like they're going to probably get, who do they whistle it on? Colton Mitchell?
Looks like they got Jack Payne on that foul, but you can see on this replay, this is where Dylan Darling is really, really tough to guard. Is in transition, he's able to use his quickness and explosiveness to put pressure on the defense. Anytime you're backpedaling for someone that quick, it's so hard to guard, and that's why he's able to get to the free throw line.
Darling with a pair of 30-point games over the last 10 games, and 8 of the last 10 he's been 20 plus. Misses that free throw attempt, much to the delight of the Vandal student section right behind the basket.
Yeah, it looks like when they built this arena, they purposely put the Vandalizers behind the opponents, free throw shooting side, especially in the second half.
Darling with a modest 6 points thus far. But it's still Idaho State. And it's Mitchell driving, no good. About the follow there, nice work by Jack Payne.
And again, Jack Payne, the beneficiary of just playing with energy and effort. He gets himself to the glass, and that gives him the opportunity to score some easy buckets.
O'Neal, baseline reverse, no good. Got caught up in the net. Loose ball, Mitchell comes away with it, leading the break. Off to Gonzalez, he's got an opening. The reverse, decides to kick it out to Maruss. Yes! Maruss, 3 threes in the game. He's fired up. So are the fans here at Idaho Central Credit Union Arena as the Vandals have retaken the lead here, jumping out to a 6-point lead here in the early going in the second half.
4, 3, 2.
College basketball on SWX is brought to you in part by Findlay Downtown Toyota, Spokane's #1 Toyota dealer. Great shot of downtown Moscow, Idaho. Beautiful time of year as things are warming up. Spring's on the way. Kind of feels like it at least. And man, hot action inside ICCU Arena here, Stephen. Good ball game.
Yeah, you talk about warming up. Idaho 3 3-pointers already in the second half, 10 on the game. Their shooting from outside continues.
And it's allowed the Vandals to retake the lead by 6, but Hollenbeck with authority.
And Hollenbeck's showing us some game tonight. He's been able to knock down some threes, some mid-range, and now he shows you the athleticism at the rim.
Gonzalez, out of Linhart to a cutting Mitchell. Kind of a blind baseline pass out to Maruss. Behind the back dribble there by Linhart, but it's taken away by Darling and a foul.
That's one of those tough situations for Tyler Linhart. You can't put the ball behind your back when you're in, pressure situations and defense are there. But look at Hollenbeck just showing his athleticism and just the versatility of his game tonight. 15 points so far for him, and it's been a great night.
First foul, first personal whistled on Linhart. Second team foul of the second half on the Vandals. It has been a seesaw affair
Largest lead for Idaho, 9. And then Idaho State is led by 5. That was in the early going. Led by 4 at halftime. Darling now working along the free throw line over to Green, no good. And the rebound by Payne. And here comes Maruss. Jack Payne's got kind of a little bit of a Craig Elo look to him, the flowing blonde locks.
He's got that old school vibe to him. Yep. He just plays with that old school energy.
Gonzalez kicks it to Linhart, powers it down the lane, the dish to Maruss. Blocked there by Darling. Nice work in the paint by Darling to get the block. Hollenbeck for 3, short, and it's Payne the rebound. Approaching 5 minutes elapsed here in the second half. And it's Payne pulling up from 3, in and out. Tough chance there for Payne.
That's a good look from Jack Payne. The defense goes underneath the ball screen. He's got to take advantage of that. He's able to knock those down.
Griffin driving the lane, too strong, and Maruss the boards.
And both teams now have gone cold here the last few possessions. I'd like to see Idaho get Colton Mitchell involved here. Some type of ball screen to get him free.
Both teams shooting under 40% from the field as Linhart takes it to the elbow, kicks it back out to Payne. And now Mitchell will back it out with 7 to shoot. Got to find somebody quickly here, and a cutting Payne. It's off the mark for him. And it's Griffin with the turnover, and Darling sets it up for 3, short. Looked like he might have been tipped there by Linhart. Either way, got a foul on the floor, and that'll bring us to our timeout here on the floor at ICCU Arena. A good one here. It is Idaho on top by 4 after trailing by 4 at halftime. Tonight's coverage of college basketball on SWX is brought to you in part by Northern Quest Resort and Casino. Don't miss the ultimate sports experience at Northern Quest with game day grub at Epic Sports Bar. Northern Quest, yes, the best. Back at ICCU Arena, Idaho against Idaho State. A rubber match, if you will, in the King Spud rivalry. You got the women playing tonight in Pocatello. A win by either Bengal squad will give Idaho State the King Spud title, the 4-game series, if you will, for the year.
And at halftime, Idaho State women's up by 4, 34-30 over the Vandals. So got some interesting matchups going here as you see Green knock down his first free throw.
Green, the junior from Atlanta, playing an average of 17 minutes a game off the bench. 4-point average, he's eclipsed that. Loose ball, hustling for it is Titus Yearout, and foul on the floor.
Looks like they caught Jake O'Neal diving into Titus Yearout's leg there.
So Jake O'Neal with a couple of personal fouls, second team foul on Idaho State. 6 minutes gone here, second half. Mitchell has been quiet since his early 15 in the first half. Mims. Now this is Mitchell, double teamed, and a kick ball off Darling. They'll reset. And see Titus Yearout, the sophomore from Lapway.
Yeah, and the Vandals need to find out a way to attack this ball screen. Idaho State's not allowing them to come off the ball screen. They're forcing it down, so Mitchell's got to be aggressive attacking the baseline.
And another foul. This one is on Dylan Darling. That'll be his first. And actually, I believe that's his second personal on Darling, team's third. Mitchell underneath, Darling knocks it away. Dylan Darling, the star from Central Valley High School in Spokane Valley. Enrolled at Washington State, now at Idaho State, and it's turned over by Jack Payne.
It's been a little bit sloppy for the Vandals. That's their 11th turnover of the night. They do such a good job at taking care of care of the ball, so very uncharacteristic here from the Vandals.
Versus 6 turnovers for Idaho State. And it's Idaho State, the Bengals with a chance to tie here, inside 14 to go. Darling to Green, cut off there at the baseline by Payne. And it's Otten, yes. So Evan Otten finally getting into the scorebook, does the redshirt freshman from Redmond, Oregon.
Really good job there from Green, having his eyes up, post-to-post pass there, and Otten just catches and finishes.
Maruss for 3, back iron, but a great follow there by Jack Payne.
I mean, that's his eighth rebound of the night, and he's had 3 offensive rebounds just in the second half. Just so active on the offensive glass is Jack Payne.
And he's rewarded now with double figures, 11 points for Payne. And a nice double pump pass there by Darling, but they can't convert. And here come the Vandals. And turned over, the nice job by Otten, gets it ahead to O'Neal, back to Otten, and can't get the finish. Kind of an awkward Euro step, but the Bengals get it back, and now a foul on Mims. A tough break there for the Vandals. Otten misses what looked to be an easy layup, but he kind of got wrong-footed, missed it, and the Vandals get whistled for the foul.
Yeah, Otten went to the Euro step there, but he tried to reach over, almost kind of dunk it, and he got caught in that in-between dunk layup. You'd like to just see him put it off the backboard because he's right there and has such long length. But Idaho State able to stay with it, and Green comes up with the effort, rebound there, and then Julius Mims gets hit for the foul.
Well, you talk about close chances. Idaho in the first half with 3 or 4 alley-oops that went awry. And for Idaho State, Otten has had several point-blank dunk attempts or close to it that have not gone down.
Yeah, he's had 2 that he tried to do over Julius Mims, and then the 1 there, so 3 opportunities, same for the Vandals.
But it will be Idaho State to inbound here, and now Darling with a fresh shot clock as we approach 12 minutes to go. Darling working against Mims, the pull-up. Mitchell flying by, and Darling is off the mark. And a little tie-up underneath. And looks like it's going to be a held ball. Possession arrow favoring Idaho State, and that'll bring us to immediate timeout. A great one here at ICCU. It's the Vandals clinging to a 3-point lead. College basketball on SWX is presented in part by your local McDonald's restaurants. Proud sponsor of the McDonald's Team of the Week, featured every Friday night at 11 on Nonstop Local KHQ in SWX Overtime. We welcome you back to Idaho Central Credit Union Arena. If you're just joining us, you've missed a good one thus far. The Idaho Vandals jumped out to a 9-point lead midway through the first half, trailed by 4 at half. Now back up on top by 3 here in the second half. Inbounds by Idaho State. No foul on Maruss. And now this is Dylan Darling. It has been relatively quiet, just 6 points so far in the game for the Idaho State Bengals. Super soft from the corner. Short there by Bergen, but the rebound is good.
That's a tough one for Julius Mims. You got to box out Otten. Such a good offensive rebounder, and has such great length, and is able to use that long arm to tip that ball in.
Evan Otten with 4 points in the game thus far. Hasn't quite had the block performance that he normally has. He came into the game with 62 blocks on the season, far and away tops in the Big Sky. Had one early as Maruss, a 3-point attempt, no good. Rebound. And we're going to tie Connor Hollenbeck for the foul. His first personal, team's 4th. Checking back in for the Vandals will be Linhart. And that's a guy that they really want to get going. You know, he's not a starter, but we talked about it earlier, 48 points, we should say, over the last 2 games.
And this is an opportunity for them. They love this out-of-bounds play to isolate him and let him go to the rim.
And there it is. A little bit short-sighted there on the effort. Brickner to the rack, no good. And the Bengals with the rebound. Brickner knocks it away, and they whistle him for a foul. Or just, they're going to say it's just off Brickner, no foul.
That's one of those ones, if you're Isaiah Brickner, so physical, so athletic, you come to a 2-foot stop there, you're right at the rim. It's a lot easier finish than he was able to make that one.
And that was actually on Brickner. 5th team foul of the second half against the Vandals. O'Neal driving. Can he get the roll? No. The tip, no good by Bergen, and the Vandals come up with it. Linhart, the board. Brickner, guarded by Darling. Now Mitchell. Behind the back to Linhart. Backing in on Green and gets it to go. So Linhart, nicely done, his second bucket of the game.
And he just shows you the patience that he has. He's so good. If it's one-on-one, he has the opportunity to score on anyone when it's one-on-one, especially right in the middle of the paint. Not much help side can come.
Oh, beautiful drive by Darling and the conversion. The quickness there by Darling on display for the sophomore from Spokane Valley.
And that's exactly what Dylan Darling does, but we've only seen that once in this game before, right at the end of the half. A good job of getting loose there for Dylan Darling.
Past the halfway point of the second half, and it's Idaho clinging to a 1-point lead. Gonzalez. Little fall away, yes. Christian Gonzalez.
And that's 2 possessions now. Idaho's been able to get right to that logo area, the Big Sky logo, one-on-one, and have great opportunities. Anytime you can get that deep into the defense, good things are going to present themselves.
He was a key cog in the win last year over Idaho State, scoring 7 of the team's final 12. Meantime, O'Neal from three-point land, yes.
And that's all set up from Dylan Darling. So much focus. Idaho's defense has 5 eyes on Dylan Darling, and he just finds O'Neal wide open on the wing.
Again, Idaho State refusing to let Mitchell continue to burn them, but the roll there, no good on the effort from three-point land. It'll go over to Idaho State. So,
and look at that, 2 players on Dylan Darling. You got to give the ball up. You got to make quick movements, and he does that to find O'Neal. And just like you mentioned on the other side, Colton Mitchell's getting double team off the ball screens as well and does a good job of finding Tyler Linhart. And I don't know how many times that ball went around the hoop before it popped out. They call that a toilet bowl.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah. The description gets the job done.
It
right?
does. That's all you got to hear.
Tied at 51, 8.5 to go here at ICCU Arena. 2 teams jostling for seeding in the upcoming Big Sky tournament. Idaho State tied for 3rd in the conference. Idaho tied for 5th. Hollenbeck now with 4 to shoot, drives in. The rebound there by Otten. It looks like they gave the Otten credit on that. Yes, Evan Otten, the power follow, and he has 6 points.
And I don't know how that went in. He had his arms tangled up, and he was able to get it off his hip and just fling it towards the rim. Just great effort there from the Bengals on the offensive rebounding.
Mitchell, baseline, and he throws it off O'Neal. And that'll bring us to a media timeout on the floor. The seesaw battle continues here in Moscow. It's the Bengals leading by 2. Well, it's a tradition unlike any other. Tune into SWX starting March 5th next week for extended coverage of the State B basketball tournament. Join us on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, March 5th through the 7th, starting at 9 a.m. as we broadcast several of the early games with the arena public address announcer, video and sound of the game. It's actually very watchable, and it will also feature a couple full broadcasts on Thursday and Friday. Then on Saturday, the raw coverage will begin at 8 a.m. and lead into 4 straight championship games and a huge day of basketball. Extended coverage of the State B basketball tournament live on March 5th, only on SWX, your home for local sports. And Stephen, we hope you're part of the festivities this year as we get things back underway here. Inside 8 minutes to go, second half.
I mean, March is the best time for basketball, not just college. You know, also with these local state high school games, they're just so much fun and so much entertainment.
Speaking of entertainment, it's been a good one here Off the miss by Mitchell. At the other end, it's Darling converting, and he's into double figures with 10.
And just a tough basket there from Dylan Darling. Idaho has not made it easy on him all night and just finds a way to have the willpower there to make it.
Payne, the beautiful alley-oop to Mims for the finish.
And that's why you don't.
Thing of beauty.
Yeah, you can't go away from it. He's such a highlight reel. He's such a threat at the rim. And I like the slip there out of the ball screen to get Mims free.
Serious springs there. And it's the Vandals within 2. Darling, little pull-up left shot. Nope. Mims the rebound. Darling wrestles it away. Loose ball. Mims has it. The scramble continues, and it's O'Neal setting it up.
And if you're the Vandals, you want to see Julius Mims almost just hold that ball there, potentially get a tie-up or potentially get a timeout. You let it loose kind of freely there and give the ball right back to Idaho State.
High screen for Darling. Now kicks it to Hollenbeck. Short, well short. Mims hustling for the rebound, and it goes out of bounds, and it's Vandal ball. Last touch by Isaiah Griffin for Ryan Looney's Bengals, we should say. And here's a look at that thing of beauty here. Jack Payne puts it right into the wheelhouse for Mims for the flush.
Yeah, just a great up-screen play there. A lot of eyes on Jack Payne, and I mean, Mims is always rolling to the rim extremely hard, and there's a lot of opportunities there for the Vandals to keep taking advantage of those type of plays.
We talked about Idaho State's strength on the boards, but Idaho out-rebounding Idaho State by a margin of 3 thus far, approaching 6 minutes to go. Linhart in the lane, kicks it out to Payne. Yes, rattles it home.
And that's all because Tyler Linhart's able to get 2 feet in the middle of the paint. The defense of the Bengals collapse, and Jack Payne's the beneficiary of sitting wide open on the wing.
That pass by Darling tipped away by Maruss. Got Jack Payne coming alive here in the second half. Had 2 at halftime, and now 12 in the second half for a total of 14 in his first season with the Vandals after playing a couple seasons at Colorado State.
Now that's 11 threes for the Vandals. They've continued to shoot the ball so well from the three-point line.
Shooting just under 40% from three-point range are the Vandals. Darling working against the larger Linhart. And it's Payne stepping in front, 2-on-1 break to Monruss. And it's blocked by O'Neal. But they call the foul on O'Neal, and Monruss will go to the line.
And it's Jack Payne again. He's in the lane. He's making things happen. Look at him. He's just so active. And then the unselfishness. Sees Tyler Monruss running. Monruss catching almost a knee to the head there from Jake O'Neal.
O'Neal, the grad student, picking up his 3rd personal, 5th team foul. Against 3 team fouls for the Vandals, so neither team close to the bonus as yet. And it'll be Tyler Monruss, the sophomore forward from Bothell, Washington, going to the line. Coming off a 1-for-4 effort from beyond the arc in the loss at Northern Colorado, had 5 points. His high water mark for the season had 6 threes against UC San Diego back in December. Hits both. He's got 11. And Idaho back on top by 3. Oh, potential there for a walk by Bergen. Able to somehow keep that pivot foot in one spot. Now Darling to a streaking O'Neal, cut off at the baseline by Monruss. This Darling-Mitchell matchup has just been excellent. From the elbow, Darling, the little teardrop, yes. And he has a dozen.
Just so quick and explosive. He shows that shot fake just slightly, and defenses get out of position, and he's able to get right in the middle of the key, uses athleticism, and hit that little floater.
Skip pass to Gonzalez. Yes! Christian Gonzalez. His 2nd tray of the game. He has 8. And the Vandal lead is 4.
And the threes just continue to rain for the Vandals. 12th of the game. The unselfishness of sharing the ball is on display here in the second half for the Vandals.
ICCU Arena coming alive. Darling silences the crowd, though, with the take to the rack for the deuce.
Yeah, you say the ICCU Arena is coming alive. Dylan Darling has come alive here in the last couple minutes and has really been tough to guard and stay in front of lately.
At 5 at half, now has 14. Mitchell, and he draws the foul well before the shot by Hollenbeck goes in. And Darling picks up his third.
Just a beautiful skip pass there. And Chris Gonzalez always ready to shoot. You got to be ready on the skip passes because those opportunities are going to be available.
Idaho now shooting 41.5% from three-point range. Idaho State at 40%, so pretty good effort on both teams from beyond the arc. And now they're asked, the referees are asking something going on with the Idaho State bench.
Yeah, it looks like they're telling one of the coaches to sit down. And
I don't know if I've seen that. I guess maybe the head coach is the only one that can stand.
yeah, referees are pretty particular about the benches and how many people can be standing. And
Mitchell, does he get the roll? No. So Mitchell has really cooled off here in the second half after 4 threes in the opening half. And now approaching 4 minutes to go here in Moscow. Darling off the pick. 2-ball, yes. So Dylan Darling, you knew he wouldn't stay down long, and he has 16 points now, 13 in the second half.
And I talked about in the open, we're going to see a lot of ball screens. Didn't see a lot of it in the first half, but as of late, heavy dose of ball screens for Dylan Darling.
Jack Payne, the power move, and he draws the foul on O'Neal. And O'Neal is whistled for his 4th foul as Dylan Darling coming alive here. All tied in Moscow, 61 all. Back at ICCU Arena in time for tonight's play of the game, brought to you by Findlay Downtown Toyota, Spokane's #1 Toyota dealer. And it was that picturesque alley-oop from Jack Payne to Julius Mims.
And it's just a great setup of the play there too. I mean, you put 2 shooters on the opposite side, and then, I mean, off 2 feet in the country, there's not many guys that can jump higher than Julius Mims.
So after that 4th foul on Jake O'Neal, it's Payne going to the line. This is the front end. Payne, 9 points in the Vandals' last game at Northern Colorado. And 1 of 2, he has 15.
And 13 of those 15 have come in the second half for Jack Payne, just so active. A lot of them have been put back layups, but coming alive here lately.
Darling driving in and draws the foul, and he'll go to the line. So now Colton Mitchell, 4 personal fouls, 16 foul on Idaho. And really kind of a needless foul there. At least he prevented the bucket.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to allow the and one opportunity, but what's kind of concerning for the Vandals is that in the last few minutes, the defense of the ball screen has not been as good as it's been most of the game in containing Dylan Darling, and he's been able to get free as we see him knock down that first free throw. But Idaho's defense has kind of gotten out of whack, and Dylan Darling has really taken advantage of it.
On the other hand, Idaho State, #1 in the Big Sky in scoring defense, giving up less than 70 points a game, 1 of 2 for Darling. And the lead, or the game deadlocked at 62, 3.5 to play. Mitchell staying in with those 4 fouls. I'm going to play it out here, apparently. Payne from 3, short. And the rebound by Otten. Crowd didn't like it. Thought there was a foul there on the shot. No call. Darling, the hesitation step. And they kick it around. This is O'Neal for 3. Got it! Jake O'Neal. Second 3 of the game. He has a dozen.
And it all starts with Dylan Darling. Again, he gets downhill, gets his head on the rim. 1 pass, 2 passes for a better shot.
Payne, the crisp kick pass over to Gonzalez, no good. But Payne streaking in for the rebound. Now Maruss cut off on the baseline by O'Neal. And the Vandals will set it up with 10 seconds to shoot. Gonzalez defended by Darling. And O'Neal hustles over for the rebound.
And a good 30-second possession there for the Bengals on the defensive end. And now you don't want anything crazy. Another high ball screen for Dylan Darling's coming here. We've seen it here the last 6 possessions.
So they get the 3-point shot. They get the stop at the other end. Now a chance to go up by 2 possessions and do. Evan Otten, the dunk along the baseline. He has 8.
And it's Darling just continues to carve up the defense of the Vandals as they have to take a timeout to get their thoughts back together and get something good here. And we see it here in the replay. Again, anytime you can get 2 feet in the paint as a guard, good things are going to happen, and Otten finishes it off.
And if Idaho State is to go on and win this game, it really will point to this particular juncture there. They get the 3, they get the stop, and they get the baseline dunk by Otten. Really changing the momentum here. Idaho had leading for much of the second half.
Like I said, it was concerning because 75% of the game, Idaho's ball screen defense and focus on Dylan Darling was so good. And in these last 5-6 possessions, they've let Dylan Darling get loose. And we know how effective a scorer he is, but his playmaking's been unbelievable tonight. I mean, you look at Dylan Darling's stats: 17 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, 1 block. I mean, he's filling it all up and doing everything you can. But now, extremely big possession for the Vandals in getting a basket to stop this run from the Bengals.
Suddenly the Bengals with their largest lead in the game, which is 5. 2 minutes to go. Mitchell, can he end the drought after the 15-point first half? No, but Maruss hustling for the rebound. Now Gonzalez for 3, no. Mims the rebound, knocked away by O'Neal, but Mims comes up with it. I feel like this is a key possession, obviously, for Idaho. Payne for 3, got it! Huge! Third 3 for Payne, he has 18, and the Vandals within 2.
Anytime you get 2 offensive rebounds, there's going to be multiple opportunities. 3 shots from the 3-point line for the Vandals, and Jack Payne capitalizes the last one. Now it's about the defense for the Vandals and containing Dylan Darling right here.
What a crossover dribble by Darling in the lane, draws the foul on the floor before the shot. Yes.
And just late on the switch there for the Bengals. Little miscommunication, and that frees up Jack Payne for that 3.
I didn't catch the foul and who that was on, but it will be Darling going to the line. And now coming into the ball game, Jackson Green. As you can hear here at ICCU Arena, the Vandals crowd does not like this. And trying to distract Dylan Darling here with Idaho State clinging to a 2-point lead. Misses. Good rebound hustle there by Jackson Green. Idaho State with a huge retention of possession here, approaching a minute to play. Now Darling to a wide open Green. Darling gets it back, going to be off to the right with his shot. And tip to Mims, and here comes Payne. Inside a minute to play, Vandals trailing by 2. Gonzalez driving, and looked like it could have been a travel, but they're going to call a foul.
And I think it's one of those plays where the foul caused the travel there, where there's a little bit of hand action to cause Chris Gonzalez to lose his balance.
So they get A.J. Bergen with his second personal, 8th team foul. Both teams in the bonus. Gonzalez going to the line. Sophomore from Chula Vista, California, as Jackson Green takes a seat. Terrific ball game here in Moscow. A seesaw affair. Idaho State by 4 at halftime, now leading by 2. And Gonzalez cannot hit. A huge miss there for the Vandals. So now Idaho State can go up by 2 possessions with 40 seconds to play here.
We're going to see it again. Idaho State's going to bleed the clock and then run a high ball screen.
Darling to O'Neal from the wing. In and out, no good. Hollenbeck tips it out to the wing, and it goes out of bounds over to the Vandals. So a big break there for Idaho as the Vandals will get an opportunity here. Shot clock will be off, down 2, 23 seconds to go. And a timeout on the floor. Idaho wants to talk about it. Alex Pribble, an opportunity to set things up here, Stephen.
Yeah, this opportunity, they've been running a lot of, they like to run a lot of baseline plays where you get a guard like Colton Mitchell taking the ball baseline and have an offside player for a 3-point shot. or the dive to Julius Mims. So some type of look involving Colton Mitchell, Julius Mims, but you can't forget Jack Payne, who's just come alive here in the second half. So a lot of options for Alex Gribble and the Vandals.
The Vandals, they lost to Sac State in the opening round of last year's Big Sky tournament. Looking for a win here tonight to set them up a little bit better for the upcoming Big Sky tournament. If they finish anywhere between 3rd and 6th, they won't have to play the first weekend. They'll be off until Monday, but if they lose this one, they're really behind the 8 ball. They still have Weber State here on Saturday and at Montana State on Monday. If they go 2-1 in those games, they still have a shot. But really neat here as we look at the Idaho State women leading the Idaho by 6 in the 4th quarter. So it could be a sweep for the Bengals as it was the first round earlier in the season.
Got some battles in both areas. Pocatello in here in Moscow. The other thing for the Vandals is they have to crash the offensive glass. All 5 are going to go to the glass, so the Bengals have to really focus on the box out as well. So big time possession here. You got to get the ball in Colton Mitchell's hand to start this play.
All right, so it's Jack Payne to inbound. Again, shot clock is off. This is Mitchell working against Darling. Linhart over to Maruss. Working against O'Neal. Driving in, no good. And the rebound by Bergen, no foul. And then now Jack Payne has to foul Darling with 6 seconds to go. So a tough break there. The Vandals got the shot they wanted, but it was in traffic, did not go down.
Yeah, really, I like what the Vandals got there. I just thought that the speed of the play took a little bit too long, especially when you're down. You got to get the ball on the rim so you get an opportunity for an offensive rebound or some more time on the clock to foul and get the ball back.
So Dylan Darling with an opportunity to make this a 2-score game. 2 off his season average of 19. Connects on the front end. So now the big free throw here. Obviously the Vandals will work for that quick basket. Make or miss. Really need a miss though here by Dylan Darling, the sophomore from Spokane. An 82% free throw shooter. Big Sky Player of the Week, 3 of the last 4 games, and he hits both. He's right at his season average of 19, and we have ourselves a 2-score game, Stephen.
And it's just been the performance of Dylan Darling here to close out this stretch. At halftime, only 5 points, 14 in the second half, but I mentioned it, you know, a little bit ago. 4 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, 1 block. I mean, he's just been able to do it all for the Bengals today, and that's why they have this 4-point lead.
It's just another one that just jumps off the page is what kind of a start Colton Mitchell had and what they've done. We've talked about it a few times, but what they've done to shut him down. I mean, really no scoring since midway through the first half for Colton Mitchell after 15 in the early going for the freshman from Coeur d'Alene.
And you know, Looney and the coaching staff from the Bengals, when they went into halftime, it was such a big focus was, all right, we can't let Colton Mitchell continue to get wide open threes and get loose in transition. And you know, I know Colton Mitchell hasn't scored in the second half, but 5 assists, has done a good job of being a facilitator when needed. But now the Vandals need a big bucket here, and they needed to do it quickly.
The win would go a long way for Idaho State to help them with seeding in the upcoming Big Sky tournament. Bengals made an unlikely run to the semifinals of last year's Big Sky tournament before falling to Montana. And Dylan Darling, 2 big free throws to make this a 2-score game. And now we'll set up on defense against Colton Mitchell. And it'll be Linhart to inbound. The Vandals need a quick basket. A long pass, Mims now to Mitchell, no good. Mitchell the putback, no good. Mims the putback, and that will do it. A 4-point win by Idaho State to get the sweep here on the season. A huge win when it comes to seeding in the Big Sky, as well as the Bobcats, or the Bengals we should say, go to 9-7 in Big Sky play. And the Vandals falling to 7 and 9. So right now the Vandals behind the 8 ball when it comes to the seeding for the upcoming Big Sky tournament.
And just a gutty performance here from the Bengals. You know, it started off slow, getting in the hole, down 9, and just continued to fight and battle, and led by their leader, Dylan Darling, who finished this game off the way that he would have liked.
Darling finishing with 19 points, as we mentioned, right on his season average. Connor Hollenbeck and Jake O'Neill each with a dozen apiece, and Evan Otten came on with 8 second-half points after a frustrating first half. Meantime, it was Jack Payne leading Idaho in scoring with 18, and Mitchell, as we talked about, started out with 15 in the early going and finished with 15 as Evan Otten and egging on the Vandals crowd as Idaho State gets the sweep, and they've now won 13 of the last 15 against Idaho.
Exactly. In any rivalry game, there's a lot of energy, a lot of excitement, and Idaho State comes into Moscow and gets a big win on the road in Big Sky play.
Well, it was a great game, a lot of lead changes. In fact, there were 7. In the end, it's Idaho State winning 69-65. For Stephen Madison and our entire crew, a great job here from Moscow. I'm Dave Cotton saying so long until next time from Moscow.